Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Season Keepers, the show where the only two people we recommend keeping for the season is us. My name's Matt, aka Clean Sheet Wipeout,
My name's James, aka FPL Drug.
and welcome to the third installment of our dedicated Sky Fantasy Football podcast. What a game!
Yeah, it's been a good week of action.
Exactly, yeah. What a game week it was. It was full of goals, full of tier points. I think some quite high scores across the community. To be fair, given the limited captaincy options that we had, with obviously two games or 2 game days in Saturday and Sunday this week, which was quite nice compared to last season. But I think, yeah, looking at the data, should we just get stuck into it, mate?
I think we should.
Absolutely. And first things first, the thriller that was on Saturday lunchtime, it was Man City 5, Arsenal 0.
Yeah, fantastic game. Brilliant for anyone that owns City players, defensive or attacking. Tier returns as you'd expect from the centre backs. DS obviously not getting tier 2.
Yeah, a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, Laporte getting tier 2 on 80 passes. Cancelo as well hitting tier 2, which is a bit of a surprise. Normally it goes to the centre backs. But yeah, credit to those on Cancelo. I think I've got him in one team.
Nice, nicely
And
done.
returns across the board for the midfielders and attackers. Assists, goals for Gundogan, Rodri, Torres, Grealish, Jesus,
Yeah,
everywhere.
absolutely. And I mean, we're right to obviously note the fact that Torres got 2 goals and an assist there, but I think out of the lot of them, Rodri is the standout, and he was kind of last season in that midfield role. He got himself a goal, but he had 100 passes and got himself 4 tackles. So obviously tackle tier 1, and it's something you saw quite consistently when he played last season. Obviously, it was between him and Fernandinho, which became the risk factor. Like sometimes Rodri would miss out, which was a little bit frustrating. But yeah, another one of those mammoth returns where you're looking at double figures for a player that is quite cheap in the game, to be fair.
Yeah, great pick. I think CDMs and Sky are very much the princes to the frogs in FPL. I think you ignore them in FPL, but in Sky, they come into their own. They get passing tier, they get tackle tier. They can even occasionally, obviously, score. But yeah, gold dust. Jorginho in this game,
Yep,
Rodri, they're
indeed.
all good
There's
assets.
loads of them, isn't there? And I
Exactly.
guess the only Arsenal player of note really in this game was the fact that Leno managed to hit save tier 2, like, kept Arsenal in the game at times, and that's funny saying as they still conceded 5. They're sitting bottom of the league, but yeah, for him to obviously pick up save tier 2, it could have been even worse for Arsenal.
No, it certainly could have. And surely you'd think Ramsdale will now get his chance in between the sticks, you'd think.
Yeah, who knows? They've obviously paid, what is it, almost 30 million for him, and surely you're not paying that for a backup keeper. But it'd be interesting to see what Arteta does. And I guess the only other point worth noting with Arsenal is the fact that there are probably a few people out there that started with Granit Xhaka in game week 1, obviously for that Arsenal Brentford captaincy, choosing to go against Ivan Toney. The reason I went against Xhaka and went Toney is because I can't trust him not to pick up these stupid fouls and these silly red cards. And once again, 2-footed, gets sent off rightly, and you're looking at a minus point there.
Yeah, mentally just loses his composure too easily. And he's going to cost you if you've got him in your team. Arsenal, they started well for the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game, but then after that first goal, they were just anonymous.
Yeah, they were. I mean, as soon as I saw the fact that Kolasinac was starting in that defensive lineup, I was worried for them, and rightly so. All right then, moving on to the second game, and I know this was a game that hurt you. It was Aston Villa 1, Brentford 1.
Yeah, really annoyed me in Sky. I decided to captain Tyrone Mings in both teams.
Batshit crazy.
Yeah, well, obviously he's a regular starter for Villa. I expected him to start. Expected a potential clean sheet, maybe tears, and potentially obviously an attack in return from a corner or whatever. But yeah, for him to not start was extremely painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, they seem to obviously he was injured,
Mhm.
so they've thrown in a few few different lads. Heard a lot about Chuck Woo Maker. I don't know if I've butchered that pronunciation.
You've done better than I could.
I've given it a go. Heard a lot about him. Played okay. Nowhere near on the tiers and got substituted. But yeah, I guess the talking point of this game is Ivan Toney finally getting off the mark.
Yep, yeah, I was going to say got himself the goal that we've all been waiting for. Obviously, got the man of the match in the first game for Sky, but yeah, got himself a goal and the return that I guess we'd been craving, because I can't imagine many of us, to be honest, are really going to have Villa or Brentford assets come game week 4, because I just don't think we need to. Obviously, the likes of Danny Ings gets himself an assist there, but doesn't hit tiers once again. Martinez misses out against Chelsea, so we're not going to want to start with him. And I guess Brentford, you'd maybe look at them as a cheap alternative. So Pinnock, for instance, once again hitting passing tier 2, the only one to get anywhere near it. And I guess the amusing thing is the fact that Raya got 45 passes, so I guess they were just passing between the two of them.
It certainly looks like it anyway.
All right, moving on then to a game where I know most of us probably own a home defensive asset here, and we did well with tiers, but we didn't get the clean sheet again. It was Brighton 0, Everton 2.
No, bit of disappointing performance from Brighton in this one. But yeah, as you say, those defenders becoming increasingly reliable for the passing tier, comfortably in tier 2 for most of them, and tackle tier for Webster as well. What a bargain.
Webster has been an absolute bargain at 7 million, and I think he's probably one of the first players on my team sheet for post overhaul, because that man just seems to consistently hit both tiers. And obviously, it's something that we saw Lewis Dunk do quite regularly last season, but Dunk's obviously hitting the passing. He's not getting anywhere near tackle tier at the moment. Webster seems the one that is getting himself stuck in, and once again picking up both sets. It's great to see, given if you don't keep a clean sheet, you can still pick up a good 8-pointer, from the likes of Webster, and at 7 million, that's a great return.
Oh, it really is. And someone else who was getting stuck in was Richarlison, trying to steal the pen off of Calvert-Lewin.
Oh, I know. I can imagine owners were cursing when they saw Richarlison grabbing the ball there to start with, but rightfully DCL got it. Benitez has come out and said that it's DCL's penalty, and under the extreme amount of pressure that he must have been under after his teammates kind of lamped that on him, it was a really well taken penalty, got his goal. But again, another one of those strikers that is scoring but isn't really hitting shot tier. I think DCL is probably one to look at post overhaul, because he is consistent and he does get the goals, and with it being a penalty taker, it's quite important. But it was just interesting to see, obviously, them winning this game, but nobody hitting shot tier.
No, I think players like DCL and Ings, they don't really tend to get anywhere near the tiers. But obviously, what they lack in tiers, they make up for in goals. Allen, again, another player that you can add to the CDM list.
Agreed, yeah, an assist. Exactly, tackle tier 2. It's a great return.
It is, and on to the next one, which is a thriller, really. Newcastle 2, Southampton 2.
It was. This had my heart racing for most of the game. Obviously, we're both Saints fans, as everybody probably now knows. And in the first half, we should have been clear. I mean, Elyounoussi and obviously Kyle Walker-Peters both got starts in the game, and rightly so, after their performances midweek when we bagged 8 goals in the cup. Not often we do that, but I'm by no means saying that Elyounoussi is someone that you should be bringing into your Sky teams. He obviously got his goal. He hit a shot tier 2, but there is going to be constant rotation, in my opinion, amongst our particularly our forward like wingers. Adams and Armstrong very likely to be constants, but when you've got someone like Brozier, Tella, Redmond, Gineppo, Elyounoussi, they're just going to be switching between the lot of them. So honestly, I wouldn't go anywhere near them, except for, say, Prowsey, who is, as we know, Mr. Consistent when it comes to being a Southampton player. Once again, getting himself a penalty, took it very well. Obviously, in the 96th minute, last kick of the game. gets himself shot tier and passing tier. So
Yeah, I mean, you know what you're getting with Prowse. He's starting every game on set pieces, so that's very, very appealing for a Sky player. And yeah, he even got tiers in this game.
exactly, and I think the most amusing stat of this game from a Sky perspective is seeing those Newcastle midfielders hit tackle tier 2 and comfortably as well. But I think that is probably credit to the way we approached the game in the first half. Like Gineppa was causing them all sorts of problems. Should have scored. Livramento should have got the assist for it. But yeah, it's quite amusing to sit there and see, say, Almiron, no shots, 11 passes, but 8 tackles. Like almost as many tackles as he did passes.
Such a strange game, and those stats back it up.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Moving on then to a game in which no doubt one particular Leicester player has frustrated quite a few, including myself, in the first 3 games, but it ended up being Norwich 1, Leicester City 2.
Yeah, a bit of a disappointing performance for Leicester. Those on Harvey Barnes are obviously going to be frothing at the mouth. They're going to be furious.
Thanks. I'd say probably my biggest regret of starting game week 1 was the fact that I had Harvey Barnes on one of the teams. It's frustrating because this Norwich game is the one that we were all targeting, and we thought, right, well, if he's going to return in any of them, he'll be in this one. But once again, saw himself get an early substitution, and it's been frustrating.
Did you do it for captaincy? So did you not have any West Ham in the team, or did you just pick him anyway?
Just picked him. I genuinely thought, last season, for instance, when he came back, he came back in quite some form. He's a good player and often hits shot tier, and pre-season kind of showed that he's probably going to get further forward with Jamie Vardy, but it just hasn't materialized. And in my other team, that's doing a little bit better, my first team, I went with Tielemans is my Leicester coverage rather than Harvey Barnes. And yeah, it's probably the place I should have gone. Tielemans is usually consistent in terms of hitting tiers. Didn't get there this time, but I think that's probably credit to Norwich, to be fair.
Yeah, surprised everyone really. Max Aaron's getting tackle tier 2, 5 tackles. Obviously, Pookie pulling back a goal from the spot. Maybe Mavericks will bring him in against Arsenal. Be a brave choice on overhaul, but who knows?
It would, yeah. I think Jamie Vardy is another one of those brave picks. I've seen a few drafts out there that are starting with Vardy, for instance, because I think their fixtures after Man City are quite nice, and then maybe looking to move on to another premium. But Vardy is one of those players that has constantly frustrated me in Sky last season, and I can't see me owning him again.
No, I mean on his current form, like I can see why people have done it, and it may well pay off. But yeah, it feels like a bit of a gamble to be doing it at how much he costs.
Absolutely. And then I guess from one forward to another that is in form, it was West Ham 2, Crystal Palace 2.
Yep, that man again, Mikel Antonio, getting the goals, and yeah, what performance, goal and assist. No tears for any West Ham players. No
No.
one really close to anything. But yeah, a decent performance from them, and a rather surprising performance from Palace actually as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Palace played particularly well, and it's funny to well, I guess it's something that we've noticed in the past few weeks, but the fact that Crystal Palace seem to be at least getting closer to passing tiers defensively. So obviously, Anderson, for instance, hitting 54 passes in this game. West Ham are a tough team to play, so it's one to keep an eye on because if and when we do potentially need Palace coverage, I know that there is a single game day, I believe, against Arsenal. Probably likely to go with Arsenal, to be fair, but who knows? They might still be bottom of the league by then. Sorry, Arsenal fans. But someone like Anderson could be a target because if he's getting close to passing tier, even if they don't keep a clean sheet, you could still look at a 5-point return, there, and 10 points as a captain is pretty handy.
Yeah, it really is. And obviously, the talking point for this game was Gallagher scoring 2 goals. pretty impressed with him. Great finishes. And yeah, you're seeing a lot of passes in the stats there. And yeah, maybe Vieira's sort of going to have a more possession-based passing game. But you can see like Waiter's got 26 passes, so they've clearly sort of built from the back a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess this is the time that Vieira needs to develop this Crystal Palace squad. So it'll be good to see how they progress.
Certainly will.
All right, and then moving on to the final Saturday game, which was dubbed to be an absolute thriller. And to be fair, it was a great game until one big decision changed it, but it ended up being Liverpool 1, Chelsea 1.
Yeah, good game. As you say, the decision sort of changed the game. But Chelsea, to their credit, defended very well. Aspilicueta getting his foot stuck in, six tackles. Mendy, obviously, some terrific saves, keeping them in it.
Very much so. In that second half, Mendy was an absolute wall in that goal there.
Yeah, and then on the other flip side, you got Liverpool, comfortable with regards to passing tier, as you'd expect for Van Dijk, but also Matip and Alexander-Arnold, to his credit, got tier 1.
Exactly. I think genuinely going up against 10 men made a big difference there. And yeah, we normally are used to seeing the likes of, Van Dijk hitting tiers when he plays. See, we've spoken about it before. I didn't see much of him last season, but led to believe the season before he was an absolute unit for Sky. So one that a lot of us will probably be looking at after overhaul. I think the most interesting player for me is Elliott for Liverpool. If he continues to keep his spot in that Liverpool squad, I think he's only 7 million in Sky. And if that's the case, like, would you be willing to take the risk? Or do you not think it's worth it and we just stick with the likes of VVD and Salah?
I think I'd probably stick with the more nailed on assets. I think in this game, you want people to be starting. And I feel it just feels too much of a risk, despite obviously, some very impressive stats there, 75 passes.
Yeah, I was going to say that the kid played well. And I think Klopp's been very impressed, which is why he's keeping the spot in the squad. All right, let's jump on to the Sunday fixtures then. And first things first, it was Burnley 1, Leeds 1.
Yeah, not quite what I expected in this game. I expected a bit more going forward from Leeds. Didn't really have too many shots on goal. I mean, Bamford had one shot, one goal. That kind of says it all with regards to them going forward. But that's credit to Burnley, in fairness. They defended well again. They seem to be very organised this season. They seem to be pressing a lot harder. The other teams, they pressed Liverpool very well when they played them, and they did that to Leeds as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Bamford was the only shot on target for Leeds. And it shows just how well Burnley played and how they managed to kind of isolate that Leeds attack. They just couldn't really get through them. And I guess credit to, say, McNeil, for instance, another one of those players where it's quite an amusing stat that he made 17 passes in the game, but made 7 tackles. So another one of those wingers that likes to get stuck in.
Yeah, mental. If you'd have said, like, Dwight McNeil and Almiron would get 15 tackles in the weekend, you'd be very surprised.
You would, yeah. I guess the only Sky point to note from a Leeds perspective in this game was the fact that, say, Cooper and Struijk once again managed to hit passing tier. And if you aren't fancying Leeds attacking wise, Cooper could be a good option if we needed Leeds coverage defensively.
Looking pretty reliable in terms of tiers is Cooper, and I think he's a threat from corners as well when he goes up there.
Yeah, I do rate him. Obviously, being a Scot, I've kind of followed him for a while anyway. But yeah, he's a good player.
Very nice.
All right, and then jumping on to a game in which probably triggered quite a lot of transfers, both in game week 2 when people were jumping on Son, and then this week when I believe over 4,000 people transferred in Harry Kane. But it ended up being Son that stole the show. That's better. Try to say that when you're drunk. It was Spurs 1, Watford 0.
Yeah, I completely understand the people bringing in Harry Kane. I was frightened of the returns that he could obviously get against, say, Watford.
Likewise.
The decision made sense, but it does. As I haven't made the decision, I've saved the transfer, and I've not missed out on anything. So it's nice to be sitting on this side of the fence, but could quite easily be me on the end of a dodgy gamble next time.
Yeah, agreed. I think Kane was arguably the best captaincy in this game day. I mean, obviously, we'll come on to the next fixture, but Fernandez was probably the other option. Um, oh yeah, like he was hiding behind the sofa, and I did see. I think it was Ian Parron had gone to Harry Kane for captaincy. Yeah, it's cost him a transfer, but it didn't cost him any points because they matched, Kane and Fernandez in terms of returns. But I honestly don't blame Ian for doing it because he's had such a great start. He's already 30, 40 points ahead of me, I think. And imagine if Kane had scored a hat trick and he had taken that gamble, that the guy would have been flying. So he knows his stuff, and rightly he's taken that gamble.
Yeah, we'd have had a very different conversation if he scored a hat trick. We'd be saying, "Why didn't we make the move?
Yeah.
What were we thinking?"
Exactly.
But yeah, the way this game works, and it's why we love it.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, Højbjerg finally doing what we kind of saw him do in Sky consistently
Love
last
that man.
season. I know you do, picking up passing tier, and you own him, don't you?
I do, and I did think about captaining him, but then I kind of got cold feet based on obviously the majority that are going to be on Bruno. I just went with the herd, Captain Bruno, but maybe next time I might go for Højbjerg or someone of that ilk.
Well, that's what Sky's all about. At the end of the day, it's about calculating those risks, and yes, some pay off, some don't. And say you had gone to Højbjerg over Bruno, you'd be looking at a 10-pointer for captaincy, whilst us Bruno owners that captained him got 2 points. And talking to Bruno, that's the last game, so we'll come on to it now. It was Wolves 0, Manchester United 1.
Yeah, another great performance from Wolves at the back. Tight game. De Gea had to make a lot of saves to keep United in front.
Some absolute worldies.
Yeah, 5 saves. Obviously, Varane hitting past tier, getting an assist, very solid at the back. I mean, it's surely going to mean more clean sheets for United now. So that overhaul, maybe you want at least one United defender.
Potentially. I guess fixture-wise, it's not particularly great for United defensively at the moment, but there is a real swing later in the season. I think it's FPL game week 14, but I'm not sure how that correlates to Sky game weeks because obviously they add the game week numbers even during the international break. But yeah, I'd very much be keeping an eye on, say, the likes of Maguire and Varane for that fixture swing because you could be looking at, consistent tier points and clean sheets, and you'll be laughing if you're getting 10 points from your defender and the odd assist every time, wouldn't you?
Exactly. And I think it's good signs that they're grinding out 1-0 wins like this against like Wolves, who've been quite impressive so far this season.
Agreed. And I guess final thing for the Man United discussion, it would be wrong if we didn't touch on it, but Cristiano Ronaldo obviously has signed for Manchester United, will be appearing in game week 4, I guess, against Newcastle. And Sky have priced him exactly the same as Bruno Fernandes at 11.8 million. So there's a decision to be made whether you go Bruno in midfield or CR7 as 11.8 forward. Where's your head at if you had to pick one of them?
It's tricky. I think my emotions get involved, and wanting to have Ronaldo almost sort of pushes me over the edge to getting him. But I guess what you could do is have Ronaldo in one team, Bruno in the other.
It's fair, yeah.
If you want to kind of spread the risk, so to speak. But we've seen Ronaldo perform in pretty much every league he goes to, be it the Italian league, Spanish league, the Prem. He's done it everywhere. He's obviously still remarkably fit for his age.
Yeah, exactly.
So what better fixture to start with as well?
Yeah,
Newcastle.
not only does he do it, at league level, but internationally, and we even saw at the Euros how good a player and how clinical he is. And yeah, I just think with this Man United side, if they can build it up around him, he's probably going to get 20, 25 goals this season at least, I'd expect. And he's not going to be the player that we saw back in his last spell in the Premier League. We all know what the type of player he is now, obviously with Milan last season. He's very much a front man, clinical, kind of gets a little bit stuck in, but he's going to be the one that, rely on to score the goals. He's not going to be out wide cutting in and nutmegging defenders and whatnot. So that's probably one of the reasons why I think I'll go Ronaldo, just because I think if United do score, he's very likely to be involved.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I think you might have said he was at Milan last season. Obviously, I mean
Juve. No, I've got Lukaku in my mind because I've got an image of Lukaku on my screen right now. Yeah. Juve.
No, just can't wait to see him. Just brilliant to have him back in the league. It's good for the league.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess that covers off the fixtures, and it's only right that we have a little bit of a look of our teams before we jump into overhaul this season.
Yeah, my teams were doing pretty well till I basically ruined captaincy on both days.
Yeah.
On Saturday for both teams. Now sat at 16k in team 1 and 14k in team 2. In terms of points, I think it's about 260 points. So an okay start, but definitely hoping to build and increase my rank. Well, lower my rank after overhaul.
Yeah, that's understandable. For me, yeah, it's on the basis of the fact that I kind of split my options between the two teams, and frustratingly, one team hasn't done as well as I would have expected it to. But yeah, I'm sat at. Oh, see, your cat was on one podcast, my dog's on another. But yeah, I'm at 302 points in my main team, so I'm very happy to break that 300-point mark after the first 3 weeks. 263 in my other team. I think that puts me at 2.7k in the first team, and then 12k in the other. I'm happy with that, to be fair. Anything above, I think 250 points wise, you're probably looking at a pretty reasonable start. And as we all know, one captaincy can get you 50 points in this game. So there's no reason why people can't be catching up. After all, it's only 3 weeks in.
No, exactly. And you've obviously got those transfers to use throughout the season, and that's where the gains are made.
Yeah, big time. And obviously, we've mentioned it there. At time of recording, we have 9 days, 17 hours, 21 minutes, and 32 seconds left of overhaul. We're going to do a bit of a special podcast next week, aren't we, mate?
Yes, we are. Obviously, it's overhaul, so we're going to do a overhaul special where we'll cover off, box off, have a little look at who we think should be in your teams.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking at those fixture swings, those 2-for-1s, those 3-for-1s, and maybe even look at a cheeky draft or two if we've had the time at the weekend to properly formulate them. But I think that's probably a good place to finish this podcast. Hopefully, people have enjoyed the overview of Game Week 3, and you can go on and spend a little bit of time tinkering with your teams before you hear us all next week. So, as always, James, it's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.